All right, welcome to Writing Workshop. Today, writers, we're going to be doing another revision of our research reports. This one is going to be including a variety of ways to get your reader thinking more deeply about your topic. So how do we do that? First of all, I'm going to do a study with you of some informational texts, and you're going to ask yourself some questions about that. There's a tool that you're going to be using, Formats to Let Information Writing Grow, that I think will be really helpful. Once you do that work, you're going to think about the work and choose 2 or 3 ways to grow your own informational writing. And then you're going to want to revise that work, adding information or maybe presenting information you already have in a new way in a kind of a different format. So let's get started with this first thing, studying the informational texts. All right. So first of all, there's this tool that is going to be really helpful to you that I want you to be familiar with. This is Formats to Let Information Writing Grow. So I know that you probably have seen this kind of format in an informational text. If any of you have, if you think back to like a maybe Scholastic magazines or Action magazines, any of those magazines that you get, Scope in school, any of those magazines that you would read, they do a really good job of doing some of these things. So you might notice like quizzes with answers, or maybe they present information with like a cause and effect with that structure, right? They might have you think about, you might think this, but the truth is, because, right? Interesting facts, not just, within the text, but also maybe before or during or maybe after the different subsections. Labeled sketches, definitely. I remember one in after school, I saw a really good one on like cell phones. Different perspectives, how different people or groups think about these different topics. So you're already, I'm sure, pretty familiar with this. So let's do a little quiz time. Let's see if you can get this. Let's take a look at this text feature that I pulled from a magazine. It says, drugs and alcohol, a toxic mix. And I want you to think about, is it just interesting facts we're presenting? Is it cause and effect? Or is it different perspectives? Drinking alcohol, taking illicit drugs, or misusing prescription medications like sedatives or opioid pain relievers is never safe for teens. These substances have powerful chemicals, active chemicals that can harm the developing adolescent brain, pose a high addiction risk, or even lead to death. But when mixed with other drugs, the dangers are even greater. Mixing alcohol with other substances is particularly dangerous because alcohol magnifies the effects of many drugs. I could go on, but I bet you a bunch of you are already like, ding, 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 ding. It's cause and effect. Yes. They're talking about how drugs and alcohol, when mixed together, could have a really terrible effect here. Okay. You're kind of getting it. I'm sure you've already seen several texts that have been set up like that. So let's go look at another one. How about this one? This one says mapping Yemen. This study shows the Middle Eastern country of Yemen and surrounding nations. Study the map, then answer the questions. So here's a map, and then here's some questions they have for you. So is this a labeled sketch, an interesting facts, or a quiz? Do 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 do. If you said labeled sketch and a quiz, I think you'd both be right. I think it's probably more of a quiz, simply because this is a map. But I'm sure you've seen lots of different quizzes in your time when you're going to write about your reading. You might want to think about including a quiz. That could be something to help deepen the thinking of your reader. All right, what else? Oh, here we go. This one I'll just give to you. Let me read this aloud and see if you can understand why this is structured this way. We sometimes think of the classical period, 480 to 325 BCE, as the golden age of ancient Athens. Democracy was in full swing. Shining marble temples were being built on the Acropolis. And some of the world's most renowned artists, playwrights, politicians, and philosophers were all active at the city-state. Yet, during the same period, Athens suffered heavy losses in the Peloponnesian War, and the political atmosphere was full of uncertainty. So what were people really thinking during this period? To find out, we look for clues for what they were writing at the time. So the you might think section, if you thought about them describing what people thought about as this golden age, democracy, shining temples, renowned artists, playwrights, and politicians, right? But the truth is, and then they lay it on you. They tell you Athens suffered heavy losses in this war, right? The political atmosphere was full of uncertainty, right? They're telling us you might think this, but the truth is, and then when they go on to the next section, they're going to give you like the reason behind it, the because. So that's another way that you might think about structuring information in your piece to kind of get readers to think more deeply. Interesting facts before, during, or after subsections. I know you've seen these pop up. Like, did you know? Or you might need to know. Right here, this kind of pops up maybe before a subsection, so it gives you information about what's about to happen. So, for example, this one's really interesting. This gives information about the Sunni and Shia Muslims, which are it says the two main sects or like groups of Islam, the world's second largest religion. So that's very interesting to know, and information to know before you read the article, which was about the conflict between these two groups. This fact right here, did you know it popped up kind of in the middle of a section? Okay, so interesting facts. You can include those in maybe off to a side in like a text feature, either before, during, or maybe after each of your subsections. That might be something you want to do to deepen the thinking of your reader. Labeled sketches and diagrams. I know I talked about that one that I saw. Those of you who are in after school with a cell phone, that was a really good one. Here's another one. This is like a diagram of an airplane and like the different parts of the airplane. You might want to think about including this. And it could be a photo that you find maybe on the internet, or it could be a sketch maybe that you do. That would be really interesting to include within your piece of writing. All right. This is an interesting one. Different perspectives. So this one, I pulled this article from an article about immigration and what's going on with that right now. And it says, not everyone agrees there's an emergency. Is there a crisis at the U.S. border with Mexico? Trump says yes. Quote, we have an invasion of drugs, invasion of gangs, invasion of people, and it's unacceptable. He stated while announcing the emergency declaration. More people were caught trying to cross the border last year than in 2017, Customs and Border and Protection reports show. But many experts disagree with Trump and say that there is no national emergency at the border. So these are different perspectives. Here, up here, this paragraph up here kind of talks about how President Trump kind of feels about immigration. And then over here, there's talk about some experts and what they think. So this is something that you could do. If you have some information that you came across where you have two perspectives on the same topic or the same maybe subsection, you might want to think about including that within your writing because it makes your reader think really deeply. Okay, so I want to show you what I did with my revisions. And of course, in this assignment, you're going to be able to see my revisions. I'll definitely include that for you, or if you're in my class, or for your teacher to show you with these revisions. So let me show you there. That. All right, here is my work right here. And you can notice here that I have color-coded all of my revisions along the way, right? So for instance, this was the first one that I did. This was the geography one revision. Here's the second one I did. This one was the timeline one. And they're all labeled here. If you look at these little notes here, 3, that was the geography. 4, that was the timeline. And this one, number 2, that was the primary source one. But the one I want to focus on today is this formatting one. So here, can you tell which of the different formats that I use for this one? I changed my introduction around a little bit. Many people think that Native Americans were people who lived long ago, who gave their names to places like the Mannahatta tribe, which the island of Manhattan is named after. Or they think about kindly natives in a shared Thanksgiving meal. But the reality is that Native Americans were betrayed by white settlers for years. And one of the most terrible betrayals happened in the 1830s when the First Nations faced forced removal from the southeastern part of the country in what would later be called the Trail of Tears. If you kind of went back to this one, you might think, but the truth is, because you are correct, this is the format that I use for my introduction. I kind of saw this and I was like, I'm going to steal that format. I think I kind of want to talk about how people maybe stereotypically think about Native Americans, but maybe are not aware of this incident, the Trail of Tears. Okay. I also made another revision over here. And let's see if you can figure this one, which one this is. Did you know the Seminole Native Americans were actually a group of related tribes that thought of themselves as Yat-Seminole, or free people? For centuries, their ancestors resisted the attempts to conquer and convert them, and attempts to take their lands and use them as military pawns. So you might have noticed me going back to this one right here, right? Interesting facts before, during, or after the subsection. So I'm kind of doing it like this in the middle of this section, Fighting Back, where we're talking about how the Seminole Nation fought back. And this kind of gives you some interesting background information about the tribe. So as you can see with my revisions, I study these informational texts, right? I ask myself, how do these writers let their writing grow? And then I use that tool to kind of help me and guide me with my own writing. I kind of looked at the different formats, and I chose 2 or 3 ways to grow my informational writing. And it was really helpful to think about what formats would make sense for my topic. I'm not going to do a different perspectives if I don't really have 2 different perspectives on it, right? But I definitely had a lot of really interesting facts. And then I saw a way that I could use the introduction. So I made those ones. So I chose the formats that made sense for my topic. And then I did the work. I revised my work. I added information, or I actually, some of it, I presented information kind of in a new way with a different format. And then if you notice, I kind of asked myself, what would I do? I used maybe some bold words and some text boxes. You also saw, I could maybe use pictures or maybe some bullets or italics. In my writing, I definitely use italics for that word for the Seminole Indians. So this is work that I'm really excited to see you use, because I know everybody really enjoys reading the magazine articles that we have. And so I'm interested to see what you do in your work to make your writing much more deep and thoughtful, and get your reader really thinking, just like you really think when you read some of these magazine articles that you come across. Good luck.